soccer has a rising talent. We are ready to fight.
They're classy too, man. I can wear this on a date.
People who are most successful are the ones who don't just give up.
We have officially partnered up with Albemarle Paper Supply. Albemarle Paper Supply services paper products within the cities of Charlotte, Concord, Greensboro, Winston-Salem, Salisbury, Morrisville, and smaller cities in between. From fiber, plastic, and foam bowls, paper towels, tissues, napkins, takeout containers, gloves, to janitorial supplies, and much, much more, Albemarle Paper is dedicated to bring you the paper goods you need. Customers can pick up products directly at Albemarle Paper's warehouse located at 735 Henson Street in Albemarle, North Carolina, or products can be delivered to you at your business doorstep. Today's live is also brought to you by CL Driving School. CL Driving School is a truck driving school located in Indian Trail, offering programs for both commercial Class A and Class B licenses. With your choice between automatic and manual transmission, their classes consist of small group trainings with one instructor per truck. Training is available on weekdays, weekends, and evenings. Not only do you receive classes, but opportunities for sponsorship programs, recruiter visits, and job placement assistance also occurs. CL Driving School is also trilingual with classes offered in English, Spanish, and Arabic. Register for classes today by calling 704-821-1111. Hello and welcome to a new episode of the MLS Corner, the best corner in all of MLS. What a day, what a week, what a weekend we had in the hot Charlotte, North Carolina. Boys, I don't know about you, but the heat here is getting ridiculous. I think tomorrow it's going to hit 100 degrees, right?
Yeah. Absurd.
Yep. Nice. And speaking of hotness, we've got today a very, very wonderful, handsome, and hot crew for all of you ladies. She's a 10, but if she doesn't watch the MLS Corner, then what is she really, right? So on my right, we got my man Lee from CLTFC Fan TV. Lee, how are you, my man?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm great. We got my boy Brian, the Charlotte FC top bin writer. Brian, aka Brian Gaines. How are you, bro?
Doing great, man. I'm doing really well. I'm just pumped about some of the work that's going to be coming out this week. Shameless plug. And right out of the gate. And also a little apprehensive about defending a lot of Latanzio's defensive tactics from this past week. I know I'm probably going to take some heat for that.
Okay. All right, Brian. You must be a little bit Italian too then, huh? And we've got my man, one of the best MLS brains in Charlotte, North Carolina, in all the U.S. We got my man Vaughn. Vaughn, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great. I'm here after some road points. This feels good. This is going to be a fun episode.
After some road point.
So, okay, you're fair enough.
He was doing the 1 + 1 + 1
Hey,
kind of deal.
we doubled our road point total in this week, so we're doing good.
In one Latanzio road game.
That's right.
Nice. Awesome. Well, I guess we'll get into it right away then. Charlotte FC draw Columbus Crew 1-1. I mean, it was a really interesting game. It took me a long time to settle and be like, okay, like I'm okay with this point, just because of the circumstances of how we got that point as well. You know, I mean, we saw a Kalina howler, which was the second one this season, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, Shinya Shiki at the end with that opportunity, that golden opportunity, it was Gain-esque. Right at the end to win it for us 2-1, and his shot goes wide. So we'll get into it. First, I want to start with the positives, and I guess I'll get Vaughn. Vaughn, tell us the positives of this draw.
I mean, we didn't throw the game away, right? Like we came back against a good team, right? Like Columbus, yeah, they're not where they want to be in the standings right now, but we went on the road. We went behind in the match, and we ultimately scrapped and got a win, got a draw, right? Like that is a step in the right direction. We remained unbeaten under Latanzio's direction. I think that's important. We saw the same lineup for the second time, which is also something that is a foundational build that I like to see. And that was without a lot of our guys, right? This is still a team that went out there. Our 3 DPs were not on the field. Granted, Alcivar did see the field later on in the game. Our U22 guys did not see the field. Our captain and starting center back did not see the field. And we're going out there and getting a road result. To me, that is a significant positive. We are growing into ourselves. We're growing into the system. Even facing the adversity that we have. I think there's a lot of positives to draw from that. This is a team that doesn't quit. It's a team that is showing a certain level of resolve and fight. And that's a really good thing moving forward. And we're in a great spot for being an expansion team and what our goals are. I think this game, that's some of the positives that we can draw.
100%. I agree with almost all of those. Lee, talk to me. Anything that Vaughn maybe missed or something that because I know you were kind of like me, didn't know how to feel about this result.
And I still don't know how to feel about it, to be honest with you. I still think it was there for the taking, but we'll get into that, I'm sure. I mean, the one positive was, right? I mean, we had and then the boys just came back, right? They came back, they battled out, and we scored early enough in the second half to make it a game. And then obviously everything Vaughn touched on.
100%. Brian, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, especially not just from this week, but from the first 2 weeks, like if you look at this lineup, this is the lineup of people and players that Mar mentioned that he didn't like for the most part. Like this is the reason why he said things like, "I'm not Harry Potter. We're screwed," right? This is the kind of lineup that represents that to Mar and to the league as a whole, right? And then the players stood up and said, "No, we're better than that." And through 2 weeks, they've kind of backed it up. They've showed that belief in themselves. And I think that's a huge deal. I think that's a huge deal for them to be able to step up and be like, no, we're like better than what we're being told by our own coach and our own former coach now. But like, and being able to back it up and get a result on the road against a team that's really compact. And like, they were going to play extra compact because they didn't have any way to attack, as you could see in the game. Columbus had I rewatched the game just now and I was like, man, I forgot how bad the game, overall, there was just really no action. Like Columbus was incapable of really putting any pressure on us to our defense really at all. There was maybe 2 decent opportunities they had.
Except for Waltz get some playing time too, man. I think he played pretty well too, right? So that
my goodness. What an amazing flick. The huge flick there. And there's a lot of those situations like that. I think that's what I take away as the big positives. It's just the team stepping up and saying this is who we are. This is who we have been misrepresented as, and we're showing up.
100%. I'm going to echo what Lee said as well. I mean, I think that I think Anton Walks was a very, very good positive for us, especially since we've been missing Fuchs, who has been up there with Corujo as our best defending pair, right? Walks came in and I mean, he was amazing. I was like, man, we have a quality center back in him. And I think Vaughn, you touched on this a couple of weeks ago too, man. We still haven't really seen Anton Walks. And,
Walks has quadrupled his minutes in the past 2 weeks. You know what I mean? This guy had 49 minutes under Miguel. He now has just under 180 in 2 games under Latanzio and has not put a foot wrong, in my opinion. There's some people that will blame him for not, kicking the ball out on that ball back to Kalina. I don't think that is the right call. But I heard it. There were people saying it. He made a great recovery run. He made the right play there. He has 100%. Played 2 games that were more than good enough to help our team earn a clean sheet. And stepping in that regard and being able to go 90 minutes, right? He wasn't getting minutes on the field and was still game fit to go 90 minutes in back-to-back games. I think that is also something that we have to highlight for Walks, because not every player can go out there and do that. Go from literally no minutes to playing full 90s and not looking gassed at all. Walks and Carujo has looked like a very strong MLS center back pairing.
100%. And Walks had to do a lot of running too. I mean, because he's backing Carujo up when he makes those aggressive pushes forward. And Walks is doing an excellent job of being that backup for Carujo. I honestly don't know how we can necessarily say. I mean, I know Fuchs is the captain and stuff, but I don't know how he fit. Right now, the back four for me looks pretty solid. It's hard to figure out how, but that's a good problem to have when we have 5 or 6 guys that could be in that back line like that.
Moore has been killing it.
He's had 2 really good games.
Yeah.
And there's something also that I would add as a positive, right? I mean, let's not forget, we lost our head coach 2 weeks ago. If I would have told you 2 weeks ago that after these next 2 games, we would have had 4 points, right? What would you have said? You would have took it all day long, right?
Yeah. Well, and that was actually something that I wanted to highlight. I was looking at the form guide, and it's something I hadn't noticed until now. We actually ended a very odd trend that dated back to week 5. That was our win against FC Cincinnati, where we have alternated getting a result to getting a loss. We literally, since week 5 against Cincinnati, have gone win, loss, tie, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, and now we have a tie. Okay. So this is our first time going in back-to-back regular season games and earning points since way back then.
That is
New England, Cincinnati, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Those are the main positives that I wanted to touch on first. And now, we have to touch on them, the negatives of this draw. I guess I'll let you start, Brian. What's something that you saw in this team that maybe needs improvement, or, maybe some of the same things we saw under Miguel, those defensive mistakes that have led to costing us points is something that we saw with a Latanzio team this weekend.
Yeah. So I think, the big one, obviously, just to get it out of the way, is the clean a touch. Just losing composure, especially at those kind of key moments, where we were better than them. They had the ball more, but they weren't doing anything with it. And we looked, neither team was really getting a ton of chances, but our chances were way more significant. I felt like we had way better looks. And our corners were looking way more dangerous than theirs. And so there's a lot of positives to take away. I was going into that half thinking at that point, 0-0, this is a decent spot to be in, going in at 0-0. And then to have that kind of loss of composure at that kind of key moment right before the half, I was really worried how this was going to go into the second half. Because we haven't really done a great job of coming back, from being down at the half. And so, but I think that's the biggest thing in terms of just losing that composure in that key moment. But at the same time, we didn't in the second half when we got the goal back. So I don't know. That's the main negative I have, is just that we lost our composure in a key moment, but we didn't lose it throughout the entire game, and especially in that second half, which would have been, I feel kind of our MO in the past on the road, had been kind of losing our composure multiple times and giving up leads and not being able to recover.
Fair point. And I think someone pointed it out too in the comments earlier. One of the things we're seeing under Latanzio is making sure that we're defensively sound. And I feel more defensively secure now under Latanzio. Yeah. Lee, what about you? Any negatives that you saw in this game?
Before we go any further, I'd like to give a shout out to the shipping department. We love the shipping department over on CLTFC Fan TV. Negatives, right? Obviously, the Kalina is the big one. He knew exactly when he screwed up. He knew right away that he had screwed up, and I'm sure that played over in his mind time and time again, right? The ideal thing at that point was just boot the fucking ball, right? Just kick it out, do whatever, just get rid of it. But the heavy touch got us. The missed opportunity there at the end on the one-on-one with Andre. Better finishing. You would think if that was Carroll, right, that would have probably been a goal. I go back and forth, and we discussed this before the show about the subs that were played. I would have liked for us to be a little more attacking, but at the end of the day, we're on the road. We got a point, and like you said, right, 4 points with the new manager after all the Miggy Small stuff went down. I would have taken it if you had offered it to me. So, I mean, yeah, there's negatives and that sort of thing, but overall, man, I think we're in good hands. I think the boys are starting to gel together. They're starting to come together, and like Vaughn said earlier, right? We don't have our DPs out there yet, right? We haven't seen like the true starting 11 yet.
Right. I agree with you. And I mean, I think we talked about it too when he made his first mistake against Philly, right? Like, if one mistake for Colleen, like 10, 15 games, honestly, I'm okay with that, Yeah. Because I know how good he's going to be for the next 10 to 12 games. And if you're telling me he's going to have 2 or 3 of these mistakes in the season, I mean, it's not that I'm okay with it, but I'm okay with it because I know how much more he gives,
Well, the comment about the ball being played back, I feel like Walks did exactly what he had to do. That was on Kalina to clear the ball, right?
Yeah.
He decided he was going to try to play it short, took a heavy touch, and then we saw the results, right? I mean, ideally, he would have just put his foot through it, and even if it went out for a throw-in right there, like 10 yards up, it would have give us time to kind of reset and that sort of thing. So, I don't think that was Walks' problem. I think it was definitely a Kalina issue. But again, right, Kalina knows. I'm sure he had a hard time sleeping that night, especially since he's got a new baby too. And I mean, the man saved us plenty of times, right? And the goalkeeping position is one of the worst positions to screw up in because everybody sees it.
100%. Anything you want to add, Vaughn?
The only thing that was maybe disappointing for me, I was looking forward to this game to see if we would see the same patterns of play that worked for us at home in our first game under Latanzio. We saw how many times the ball was at Mora's feet, and he played the ball over top into space for Gaines or for Shinyashiki, or there'd be Rios getting out wide and having some hold up play and getting those moments where we're pinning the other team back and stretching the field. I think we were much more pragmatic in this game, right? Like I think, some people were calling it conservative. I think it was trying to just be smart. Don't shoot yourselves in the foot. Brian was talking about it before we hopped on the episode, and it was a great point about, we made that offensive sub against Seattle where Vargas came on, and Vargas was the one who was guilty for giving up the space to Roldan on was it the opening goal for them in the Seattle game?
Yeah, the cross for the Morris header.
Yeah, so that's something where we went for the offensive firepower and going for it, and it bit us. So in this game, Latanzio looked at the game state, looked at how things were going, looked at how Columbus was building with the ball, and he stayed conservative. And yeah, there was a going for the draw moment, and that's maybe the thing I was a little concerned about, was that I was really hopeful to see us impose ourselves a little bit against Columbus, who also was missing several of their key guys. I thought it was an opportunity for us to kind of do that and build some of that confidence. And I think we built a certain level of confidence, but I think the general consensus is the win was there for us for the taking, and we didn't quite see it as much as I think we would have liked to.
Yeah, I would have liked to seen Gaines' speed be used a little more too, but that's that's hindsight 2020.
It's like what Vaughn said earlier. Like, we know what we're gonna get from Gaines, right?
Yeah.
And then one thing that
Gaines, work on those crosses.
one of the things that like I feel like the fan base was very divided was on Latanzio's presser afterwards, where he said, "My rule is if I can't win, at least I don't want to lose." I want people in the comment section thoughts on that, and your guys' thoughts on that. Are you comfortable with that message? Is it, like it makes sense we're on the road? Or is it like, no, are you on the camp where, like Zoran from the beginning said we want to play attacking-minded, possession-based football, right? And to me, those kinds of subs doesn't really scream attacking-minded football.
Well, I mean, he's Italian for one, right? So that's kind of, the tactics that anyways, but I think like
Lee, I think we're losing you, bro.
Yeah.
We just okay.
a house full of kids streaming on Xbox and everything else they're doing right now to be quiet. And I guess they're eating up some of this bandwidth. Y'all go ahead. I'll just listen and nod.
Go ahead. I think you're good now.
All right. I was just going to say the subs were a little late. And, you know, to say we're going to come out there for a loss or a draw, for a draw, if that was the case, I think we would have subbed a little earlier and kind of sat in. But, you know, again, I think after we scored, what was it, like in the 55th minute, you know, I would have made another sub maybe around like the 65th minute and just kind of attacked for another 10 minutes as much as we could. And then if we wasn't getting anywhere, I would have probably just sat back and defended that draw for sure. But it just felt like after we scored, everything kind of slowed down and we were just happy that we had scored and that was going to be it.
Yeah, I understood the comment. Like, I think I get what Latanzio was going for, and it being, you know, hey, I want to secure the draw. I want to be in a good spot after this game. And that's something I brought up on another podcast, talking about, you know, we need to win season series, right? Like, we haven't lost a season series to a club yet. Could be coming this week against Montreal. We'll discuss that later. But, you know, getting the point on the road now on the return leg when we play Columbus at home, if we win the season series against Columbus, a conference opponent. That's very, very important in the way that we're going to continue to surge up the table. So I think Latanzio wanted to make sure we didn't lose that point. But I do think that the comment, the way it came out was an Estamos Jodidos light. You know what I mean? Like,
I wasn't that bad.
No, it wasn't that bad. But saying, hey, if we can't, he said, if we can't win, then I don't want to lose, right?
I feel like that should have been like a midweek comment. You know what I mean? Not like right after the game comment.
Right. But like, okay, he needs to at least let the players know, like, no, we could have won. Yes, yeah. I do believe in you guys. I believe that you're good enough to go out there and win. I think that was possible there. I think all the fans feel that it was possible there, which is also a good sign, right? Like, us fans, we believe in our attacking talent. That was not true earlier in the season. So that's a good thing too.
That was just the point I was going to make. You know, like, one of the things that we talked about was, like, time will tell us if the team was winning because of Mar or in spite of Mar, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, was the team just going to, like, capitulate after he left? Is it going to be the same? And so far, I mean, we're competitive still. So really his comments about, like, the team being screwed, in reality, were never true then, right? If we continue to see those kind of results that we're seeing. And just
I
to
don't
add
think we were ever screwed.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. And just to add on what you guys were saying, hold on, I lost my train of thought. I think the point to me will be valuable at the end of the season to see where we're at, right? You know, because it could be the point that takes us into the playoffs. But then on the other side, I'm also thinking, man, where can we realistically go this season with the games we have left and actually take wins, right? There's very few games that I can think of right now. Maybe Miami away, potentially Montreal. I doubt it though, you know, but then we still have to go LAFC. We still have to go to New York. I mean, we've got some tough away games to go to. And I'm like, this is probably one of the best chances we had to actually pull 3 points.
The thing is, though, I think we can kind of control our own destiny. This is something I did want to bring up, right? Like, I was talking about home and away matches and conference opponents. We still have a lot of games against teams below us in the table.
Yeah.
We still have the road game against Cincinnati. I think that's going to be a game that we can go out there and get a point. That would help us win that series.
Cincinnati
at Miami,
also not an easy team to beat.
No, they're not. But I think we showed that we can keep level with them, right? Like that we can compete with them. And I think by the time we play them on 9-3, like, we're gonna have our full choice team by then. That's going to be a well-oiled machine, barring injuries. You know, I think we're going to be in a better spot and a different place in our club. So Cincinnati, Miami, we got one more game against Columbus that we can control that series at home. We got the home and away with Toronto. That's going to be massive. And we have a home and away with Chicago. Also, games that we should be able to take points. And we wrap up the season, or actually it's not wrapping up the season, but it's later in the year, DC United. We are not going to lose 3-0 to DC United again. I would put money on it.
Nope.
So those are all, to me, games that we can control our own destiny. Those are all players teams below us in the table that we can pick up points and secure our own position in the table. We don't have to rely on the teams ahead of us right now.
Yeah, and that's where
Houston as well. I think Houston is well away. Houston is well away. I think is another game. It's on a short week, but I think we can also take Houston because they won't have Hector Herrera yet. So
right,
correct.
Yeah.
Ache.
Yep.
Great. I had one more thought, but it slipped from me.
Damn, bro, that's 2 slipped thoughts, man.
Bro, I need to.
In 90s getting old, folks, man.
Here, Jorge, if you don't mind, I had a comment about the whole Latanzio comment as well. Just in regards to like, I think the one thing that overall since the beginning of Latanzio as a head coach has really like been adamant about establishing is his belief in the quality of the team. And I think because his approach from day one when he took over makes that kind of comment of like really going for like being willing to not try to like lose and be like, if we can't win, don't lose. That kind of comment coming from Mar would be taken, I think, quite differently by both players and fans and everyone, just because of how he established his relationship with the players in public. Whereas Latanzio has been very adamant, like, I believe in these guys. I believe in the quality of these guys. And here are specific key players who maybe didn't even get time, like TT, who was like, he's a key player for me. And like his approach has been really like, I believe in this team. I believe in these guys. And I believe in making them believe in what they can do and accomplish. And I think just from that, it makes those comments like that, like the players aren't going to take anything from it. I mean, they're not going to overthink it. Fans will, because we overthink everything. But
because we know better, man. We know better.
Yeah, and I mean, like what we said, like Latanzio's looking at, okay, we still got a lot of games to go, and like you said, like we've got games to cover, right? It's not like we've got 3 more games, right? And we have to go for it, and we did it. So I don't know, like I feel like I switch camps every like 20 minutes. Where like, okay, like I'm happy with the point, but then I'm like, dang, no, I feel like we could have.
Yeah, I can't decide either way either. I still think we're solid for the playoffs, so I think we'll make the playoffs.
I think it depends on what we do with the rest of the month, right? Like this was the point I made about April and May is we played 500 ball. 2 wins, 2 losses in each one, or something like that. But either way, we didn't lose or win either month. Right now, we have a real shot earning this point in Columbus of winning this month. If we can earn 3 against Montreal or earn 3 against
Austin.
Yes, Austin. Excuse me. Thank you. We win the month, and that's how you build on the season. Right, we grow into the season and we grow belief in who our team is, and that's also how you start surging up the table. And I think this point made that much more feasible for us.
100%. Moving on to Montreal, then they Montreal, who ironically enough came from a loss against Austin last weekend, and so speaking of the couple of next games that we have. Before we actually talk about Montreal, I want to talk about our squad, because we have a lot of players now, and I feel like there's a lot of competition for positions. And so I kind of want to do a mix of kind of a game / who you guys would like better for our starting 11, right? And so I feel like there's certain positions that we know are guaranteed. We know we're going to see Kalina as the goalkeeper. We're going to see Mora as left back, in my opinion, right? But then with Fuchs back, who would you guys rather see this weekend? Would you rather see Christian Fuchs, who our captain, who's been solid for us through the season until his injury, right? He's coming back. Or do we keep Anton Walks? And I want to hear from everybody in the comments section as well.
Man, that's
easy
tough
for me.
One. Who are you going with? Walks, right? I'm going with Walks.
Anton Walks all day long. He's earned it. He's earned it.
Yeah. And then slide Fuchs over if Moore gets hurt to left back.
Well, also Fuchs is not in a spot where he's going to go 90 minutes. Like if he's coming off this injury,
Yeah.
you don't know what that is. It was a hamstring, right? So what's going to flare up in a 90-minute game? I think you ease him back in, especially now that you have some security of that position. I think you ride with Carujo and Walks. And if you want to make that Latanzio defensive sub, great. Bring on Fuchs in the 70th minute and let him play lockdown. You can go to a back five, right? You bring him on and set up a back five with all three of those guys out there. And then we can really change some things up. Or, hey, more something happens with him. Great. Bring on Fuchs as a left back.
Yeah.
Not a problem. I think it gives you more versatility if you have Fuchs coming off the bench.
Poor Jan, though, man. He gets booted.
Yeah.
He'll get his moments.
Yeah.
I think we just have to learn our lesson from the last time. And I think Mar felt probably pressure to bring Fuchs back quickly from his first injury in the season because we weren't capable of really defending compactly without him. And so I think there was kind of a rush that first injury, which I think might have played a role into why he has struggled with both staying at that 90-minute fitness and getting re-injured. Just in terms of getting rushed back into things. There's no reason now to rush him back. There's just no need for that because we've found an adamant replacement at center back and we're way more compact. That back four has been solid. So there's really no reason to change it at all.
Yeah.
And part of that's Latanzio too, tucking his outside backs inside.
Yeah.
Right? He's intentionally trying to keep that much more narrow and let those guys play closer to one another.
Yeah.
That's intentional.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, I mean, I gotta agree with both of you. If it was, what we saw with McCoon on the field, right, when he was pairing up with Corujo, I was like, we need to get him back in. But you know what? With Walks now, I'm more comfortable having him and Corujo pair up and having Fuchs come in minute 60, minute 70, right? I think left back Morris got that sealed. And even when we saw Fuchs at left back, to me, he just doesn't have it anymore to do 90 minutes as a left.
Yeah, but I mean, they have McCoon in there I don't know. I mean, there's a reason why Walk started so much in Atlanta.
Right. All right. Next position I want to talk about is at the right back. We've seen Harrison a fool play 2 games now under Latanzio, 2 starts, but we've seen Jalen more consistent this season, right? So who would you guys rather have? And I want to hear from everybody in the comments section as well at that right back position.
I'm going with Lindsey.
Why?
Why? I don't know. Like you say, he's been more consistent. I mean, a fool, I feel like when we were at home, he played okay. And I think against last week, I don't think he played that good at all, really. I think he was one of the weakest spots on the team. Yeah, I mean, I think Lindsey's young enough too, right? I mean, to get him in there and stay consistent. And I mean, he just does his job, right? I mean, I can't think of anything that Lindsey's really done wrong to say that's why you're sitting.
I think it's it's going to be a tactical decision. The way Latanzio likes to play out of the back is he brings Aful up to be a double pivot with Bronico a lot of the time. And I think that's why Aful is out there, is because he plays more of a midfield style of right back. And so when that happens, he builds up, plays a double pivot with Bronico, and can move the ball up more centrally. That's just more of Aful's ability and style and what traits he brings to the team. If that's how he's going to play, I think Aful is going to be the guy he goes with. And if he plays in a more different style where Lindsey plays more out wide, I think that's when Lindsey will get minutes.
How about you, Vaughn?
I think Lindsey is very good in 1v1 situations. I think he's one of our better players at preventing crosses into the box. I think he has the ability to get forward. And I've said this before, I'm really looking forward to when Juzwiak and Vargas are regular guys out there, because I think that's part of what Lindsey's challenge has been, is that he has had very little defensive help from his winger throughout this year. And I think when he's out there more regularly with a Juzwiak or even Vargas, and having some more pace on that side, I mean, Gaines is fast, of course, but his defensive tracking, his ability to be strong in front of Jalen is not quite there. So I would like to see Jalen, but the whole point of having Aful there is that they're trying to do a split of time between those guys. What Aful's on the back side of his career and how old he is. Lindsay has some significant injury history. So I said all along, right? Like if we got 1,500 minute split between the two of them, sounds about right. I think we're going to end up more like a 2,000, 1,000 split. And personally, if we're going to do 2,000, 1,000, I hope the 2,000 goes to Lindsay.
Nice. Awesome. I think I agree more with Brian. Depending on how we set up and how we want to play against each team is going to determine for me who our right back is that game. And then another one that I have for you guys in that creative role, who would you rather see? TT Ortiz, who started the last two games under Latanzio, or do you want to see Jordi Alcivar, who put in that pass, may I remind you, that could have led to the 2-1 winner against Columbus? And I want to hear from everybody in the comment section as well. Dang, nobody
I'll start.
wants to...
I'm a big TT fan. I think TT is our best player at being able to break lines. I've said also for him, he has not, the minutes he has not had what I think on paper is our best 11 when he's been out there playing as the number 10. When he's been in the 4-3-3, it's been with Gaines, with Reyna, with Rios, early on with Bender, right? And so I think TT is going to be a better TT when he has a cast of Jóźwiak and Swiderski and Shinyashiki all playing in front of him and Bender to the side. I think you're going to get a much more impactful TT with that sort of lineup. So
better
I still,
for him,
and between him and Alcivar, Alcivar is willing to take more chances. But this is the interesting thing is that going into this game against Columbus, I looked at TT's numbers versus Bender's in regular season, and it was almost exactly half as many minutes for TT. And if he played the full, I think he was at like 500 minutes, and Bender was crossing over to 1,000. If you double TT's statistics, he is neck and neck with Bender. Like his impact on the field statistically is right there even. So as much as everyone loves Bender and what he's provided, TT's right there. Like he's literally statistically identical.
You just see more of it.
I think there's two issues. One, Mar just didn't play TT in the position that everybody said he was going to play, and this is a 10. They played him false 9, wing, all these different spots that weren't what he was probably even told he was going to play, because everybody was being told he's a 10. He's going to play 10. He's actually starting to play 10, and it seems to be working. He's been involved in both of the goals that the starters have been involved in since he's been starting under Latanzio. I think he also gets a bad rap for being lazy in terms of that one play where he was the attacking midfielder being the last line of defense on a corner kick, which should just never be the tactical decision. Like
on a corner kick that he was standing over the ball at the start of the play.
Yeah,
exactly. Right. So he
paced him. You remember that right at the end, right?
No, for sure. I'm just saying, like, if you're an attacking midfielder, you probably shouldn't be the last line of defense. And then it's a tactical situation that he was not set up well for. And I think that was sort of like the history of him and Mar, was he was consistently not set up for success based on his skill set, which I think Latanzio is just better at doing with these players. He's better at finding ways to get their best traits present within the game. Also, when it comes to his laziness, if you look at his per 90, most pressures on the team per 90, most successful pressures on the team per 90. And besides your Alcivar, I think he's like the second on the team in shot created actions per 90. So it's not like he's not capable of producing or producing at a high level on both ends, right? When it comes to pressuring or creating shots. So it's gotta be TT right now. And Latanzio clearly rates him and clearly believes in him. And you got to go with the guy that is showing out. Like he's probably not going to go 90 because it doesn't seem like that's really his fit and kind of his style either. But put him out there for 60 or 70. He's been involved in 2 goals in 2 games. I mean, you have to go with the hot hand that the coach believes in.
I want to address a comment that's in the comment section. Do we permanently sign TT based off of what we have seen so far? And the answer is no. If we sign the YDP number 10.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because TT is absolutely dispensable at that point. And we're probably moving on from him anyways, unless he just really goes off in the second half of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to agree with you there. Lee?
There's nothing else to add. I mean, TT obviously, right? But I mean, you guys hit all the talking points. What's that?
They came with their stats today.
I know, man. I mean, what else do you add to that, right? I mean, next question.
And then finally, I want to ask, with 7 attacking, right? Who's going to be your front 3? Who do you guys want to see in that attacking, that 4-3-3, right? I think for striker, it's pretty easy for us to say Swiderski, right? But on the wings, who wants to start?
I'll go first because you guys could throw all the damn stats and shit out there, and I was like, there's so much. You know, the point, I guess what I'm just going to say is we haven't seen enough of like Vargas and Jaws, right, yet to say that they're he's just okay, fine. Yeah, right. So I mean, you know, I think Andre definitely probably gets a start, right? Obviously Carroll's going to be up top, and then I don't know, man. Is it Vargas? Is it, you know, Jaws? Is it? I just that last spot, I don't know. Mainly just because we haven't seen those guys play as many minutes, right? As we probably will in the future. So I'm 2.5. There's just 2.5 spots, man, being filled, in my opinion.
All right. Vaughn, you want to go next?
Yeah. I think it's absolutely Swiderski, Jóźwiak. You got to have your 2 DPs out there. And right now I'm going with Shinyashiki because of how he's performed in this lineup and in this roster. And my hesitation on Vargas, because literally when Vargas was signed, I would have said, and still in my mind, I still think the long-term plan on paper, like you don't sign a U22 guy to not play him. I think it long-term would be Vargas, Swiderski, and Jóźwiak. But my concern with Vargas is he now has a head coach that I am not positive he can communicate on-field direction from. I don't know that Vargas has a grasp of English well enough, or Latanzio of Spanish enough to provide on-field direction to a young player like Vargas. So I think that's something that we have to address. I don't know what the team is doing in those regards, but that is a reason that I would downgrade Vargas.
Interesting. I don't know if I can agree with that, because I mean, when you're a talented player, like it doesn't matter the language. But I get your point. But
if you need to make on-field adjustments, or you're seeing something that is not right, now of course I'm sure somebody on the bench can communicate that. But on the fly, that's something that you want your coach to be able to do.
I feel you, Brian.
Yeah, I think right now it's definitely got to be. I mean, Carroll. I think we got to see more from Jóźwiak, and I think it's got to be Shinyashiki simply because he's the hot hand. Like he even is talking about it. He's like, the ball is just falling to me better. Like that's the way he's describing the game right now. He's just feeling it. And I think that's the way I mean, even with the amount of shots he's also missing, but it seems like because he's also missed some really golden opportunities to get a brace like a couple times now. And or just even to get on against the New York Red Bulls. Like, I mean, but even with that, I think that shows how good, like how in form he is right now and how much he's feeling it compared to how he was in Colorado. It's just like he can miss those golden opportunities and still be feeling that good about how the ball is falling to him. I think you just absolutely have to go with that kind of player, with that kind of mindset at this moment, because he's going to forget the mistakes and move on quickly, because those are going to happen too. And then he's also he's putting the ball in the net, which is nobody else really consistently has all season for our team since, so I think you have to go with the guy who's actually doing that on a pretty regular basis.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would say, I mean, Carroll to me has to start, right, as the 9, right? I think Shinyashiki based off of his performances. But then that last spot, like to me, it's a toss-up between Vargas and Yazviak because Yazviak still hasn't proven to me that he needs to regularly start. He does have the tag of DP on him, right? So I get that. But at the end of the day, I feel like we still haven't seen enough of Vargas either to justify him being benched over Yazviak. You know,
I think Jaws, when he comes on, he tries too hard to make an impression on the game. I don't know if there's such a thing as maybe stepping back and let the game come to him versus him always trying to show his quality.
But then again, he was under a manager who just wasn't playing him a lot, you know?
Well, I think also it's a matter of us. We've got to take a look at what we saw in the Red Bulls game of, I think, our intent of style of play.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. What was so exciting about Gaines in that game was getting it open in space and being able to take guys on 1v1 and go wild. Yushviak on paper is our fastest player. Yeah. And Yushviak also in those 1v1 situations has shown that he can actually absolutely shred guys, and in MLS should be able to do that. He is also probably our best winger at being able to play horizontally and cut inside. And that's something that I think when he's getting regular minutes, when he's 90 minutes fit and he's contributing on that wing, I think it's going to really add a lot of spice and flavor. Our ability to play combination play at the top of the box, no doubt about it, is best with Yushviak out there.
I think the two Polish guys we got to sync up, right?
With everything else, I feel like we saw some of that with Vargas as well, especially on his first game. You know, his ability to take players on, his ability to, like have some of that flair as well. And so, but you're right. Like, I think in the link up in that final third, I'd probably see Yazviak do a little bit better. But I mean, yeah, that's why I say to me, it's still a toss up, right? Like, I haven't seen enough from both of them to warrant.
Well, and one more thing is also Yushviak is going to be working towards the World Cup. He's got to get minutes. He's got to build up his fitness, and he's going to be very motivated to be having good on-field performances, specifically with Swiderski. So I think that's something that we've also got to keep in mind here is that the intent for both of those guys playing together is to establish form for leading up to the Polish national team and the World Cup. So I think if Yushviak is not playing, is a bench option as a DP, it's going to create other frictions really quickly.
Yeah.
I think I'm also interested in whether or not he might, because again, it goes back to like how Mar kind of would put people out of what their preferred position is. Camille was constantly put on the right. I'm interested to see if Latanzio would be willing to put him on the left wing, whereas like that's like if he were to say where he would be preferred is on that left wing, cutting in on his right foot. And he hasn't really been given that opportunity in the limited minutes he's had either. I'm wondering if Latanzio, when he does give him time, is going to be willing to put him in that position to succeed, which it seems like he's been doing with a lot of these guys. So I think that's something
that Latanzio did in the New York Red Bulls game as well, is he had Gaines and Shinyashiki switch sides.
Yeah.
And so I think that's going to be something we're going to see more and more, that both Vargas and Yushviak are also capable of doing.
Yeah. Yep. And think about that. We didn't even touch on what Gaines can provide, maybe off the bench, or Jordi Reyna, right? We still haven't even seen Vinny Mello if he ever does play for Charlotte FC.
Who is that? Is he a real person? Is he a unicorn?
Right? Which is all a lot of interesting things, I mean, that lets me know at least like, okay, like this is a competitive team. Are we a top 4 team? No. Are we a team that can, fight for a playoff spot? Absolutely. 100%. At least in my eyes, we are. Yep. And then I want to touch on a couple of questions that I saw through, and I'll let you guys answer it too if you want. What do you guys think about? He said he prefers that precision and Vargas on the left wing.
I mean,
Carroll's up there.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd rather have Carroll at the 9.
I don't know. Maybe if we got Fabio, we could put him there.
I was told something interesting about him today. I'll share it with you guys since everyone's on the live. They said, hey, you're barking up the wrong tree. I didn't even ask anything. They were just like, by the way, you're barking up the wrong tree. Like, that's a very interesting comment that you will make to me. So I don't know how to take it, because in the past, I've had people tell me that, and then a week later we sign the player, right? But from this person, I feel like I can genuinely believe that. All right. Genuine question. Are we, Charlotte, going to make a splash in the transfer market in a way that Columbus just did, or more likely to be more conservative?
We've already been told that we're going to create stars versus buying stars, right? I think 5 million is probably going to 5-6 million, maybe 7 million would be pushing it, but we're not going to spend any more than that.
And Tom Bogert posted all the top, like he tweeted it today, including Cucho, and all the biggest signings in the MLS, and they're almost all flopped that were over 10 million. They almost all are
completely money flopped. Doesn't guarantee anything, right?
So there's not even a reason to want to make that splash. It's not justified by any there's just not.
But we've been told since day one that we're not gonna do stuff like that, right? I think 7 million would be tops for us.
Well, and also I also just want to throw out there, the other thing is perception of splash. Okay.
Yeah.
The Karol Swiderski $5 million transfer fee for other teams that have been in MLS for decades, that would be among the top 2 transfers in their entire history. Okay. This spending of 10 million, 15 million, 20 million on players in MLS is not normal, is not standard. It is just becoming a more common occurrence. The way that we will do that is if we keep selling, twice the second highest attendance in the league at high prices, there's going to be money in the coffers to go towards transfers. That's the way that Atlanta established their success early on, was being able to just have the most in-stadium dollars and justify that spend and get that pressure from the fans. So I think that's what we're going to ultimately see, is if we keep showing up, if we keep doing that, if our dollars are there, that's how we're going to see consistent 5 to 7 million, maybe $10 million spends. But this summer, I don't think that's going to happen. In the 10 plus million, same thing, 5 to 7, sure, but we're not going to any 20 million type of signings yet.
And I think, we can't even really sign just a third DP right now. It would have to be a young DP. So, what were you going to say, Brian?
Well, and I think it also, when it goes back to splash, sometimes the splash happens late, and I think that's what Charlotte's going for, is for maybe it doesn't splash on paper right off the gate, but it ends up being a big thing down the road. Similar, I think, maybe look at Miguel Almiron. Nobody in the MLS really knew who this guy was, but he was a pretty big signing, and he was maybe the best MLS player while he played, Yeah. And so I think those are the kind of situations that Charlotte is looking for, is can we bring in the guy that people maybe aren't aware of, who ends up being just an absurd talent on the field.
Riley McGree had no business being a $5 million guy on the transfer market, and that's exactly what he turned into. Yeah. So our team is scouting very, very deep to try and find those nuggets, those treasures. We can sign U22 guys that you don't spend that kind of money, but they absolutely turn into the 5, 8, $10 million transfers.
You got a solid scouting department, man.
Yeah, and I think people need to realize too, this is MLS. The parity in this league is very different than what it would be in Europe, right? It doesn't take the top dollar to be competing for the title, right?
And you can sign a Carles Gil or a Hani Mukhtar, and they turn into a league MVP.
Exactly.
Tati Castellanos. There's so many examples of these guys who are getting who got bought low and are now going to be sold for absurd sums.
Yep. Aren't teams getting some more money from Apple MLS deal?
That's next year, if anything. Though.
Yeah. So we'll see how that plays out, because they have to do something, right? Because I think I mentioned this last week, but Seattle could potentially play 5 tournaments next season, right? With 20 senior roster slots. They're going to throw away 1 or 2 tournaments just because they have to, right? So,
yeah. There's some required money going towards players that was part of the CBA negotiation. So I'm not going to dig into the details of it, but yes, there is money that's going to go towards roster spend from this TV deal. But I also think that this is part of Major League Soccer's business model. If you look at the expansion model, that the $8 to $10 million a year was roughly what was going to each club from the expansion fees. So that's kind of what is still happening now with this TV deal. So I view it as MLS just changed their business model. Their roster spend is basically covered by the TV deal. And the teams that are more ambitious will spend from their ticket sales.
Yeah.
And we will have an MLS Next Pro team next year, so that should help because that'll be interchangeable, right? For like the multiple different tournaments and things like that.
Well,
Right?
and there's some laundering you can do of roster spend because you have unlimited transfer fee spend that you can do on the MLS Next Pro side. So yeah, there's gonna be some teams. In fact, it's something that the New England Revs are doing right now. They are trying to almost build their entire Revs 2 squad from Brazilian talents. They're bringing in really young Brazilians and loading up the Revs 2 and hoping they hit on a couple.
Nice.
That's not a bad strategy.
No, that should work.
And then touching a little bit on Montreal Impact, man, this episode has flown by. You know, in Montreal, who, like I mentioned earlier, lost to Austin, and they have a game tomorrow. So for the Canadian Open Cup, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
the semifinal.
Yeah, the semifinal, right? So what can we expect maybe from Montreal? Is this, in your guys' eyes, a game that we can go and actually win? Or is it going to be similar to what we saw at home, you know, which that's one of the – there's two games that I really criticized Miguel on, and that Montreal one was one of them. So kind of give me your thoughts on this Montreal game, and I want to hear from everybody in the comment section as well.
Montreal is just a good team, right? I mean, I think they were the first team I would honestly say kind of outplayed us. Hopefully with the game during the week, that plays to our advantage. And, you know, personally, I'd be happy with a draw up there.
I think Latanzio doesn't give Montreal the respect that maybe Mar does and is willing to try to impose his game on them a little bit more. I think Mar gave them a ton of respect.
Too much, right?
Which is just like, I think he was willing to just completely change a ton of things. And I think what Latanzio specifically showed with the New York, granted it was at home, road's going to be a completely different story. But what he showed against New York was that we can impose on them. It doesn't matter who it is. And we can at least give that a go and see where it goes, and is willing to take that chance. And I think he'll probably do that against Montreal, which I think fans will probably be encouraged by. I will be encouraged by that as well. And I think it just comes down to Georgie. Like, I mean, their form has like plummeted since Georgie has been out, even though they have a lot of other good players. But I think it just, when you don't have your MVP candidate, it's a huge hit.
Yeah, Montreal has lost 3 of their last 4, and it's coincided with Georgie being out. You know, I think that's going to be something we've got to keep an eye on. I think we're not going to go with the 4-4-2 diamond. I'd be surprised, shocked, pissed, and everything if we did that. But I did have concerns that if Georgie was out there, that we would be very vulnerable in our 4-3-3. That Montreal could open us up. They're just a very well drilled club, and they create a lot of high XG opportunities right at the top of the box. Even in this loss they had against Austin, there were so many things that Montreal did right at the top of the 6, and they could have scored. I think Kai Kamara could have almost had a hat trick in the game, even though they lost 1-0. So yeah, don't rest on your laurels. Montreal is still a good squad, but I think we're hitting them at a much better time than before when they were on a franchise best unbeaten run. And I think right now we're going to also play with a little bit of vengeance there, and that's a good thing.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing much I can add. You guys have said everything. I was going to go towards the Vaughn approach where, like, we're still playing a tough team, right? And so that's just it, you know? I mean, it's a team that came here and dominated us, right? One of the very few teams that have come to Charlotte and actually outplayed us, right? Which, like you said earlier, Brian, a lot of it was because Miguel gave the team too much respect, right? So we'll definitely see this game. It'll definitely be a different game, but let's not forget it's still one of a very, very tough team to play.
And it helps that they're playing their third game in 8 days.
Yeah.
Yes.
100%. And last but not least, I want to hear everyone's score predictions for this game. Everybody in the comments. And I guess I'll start off with you, Brian. Tell us, what do you see in this game?
I think we're going to get a 1-1 draw. I think we're going to close up space a little bit better than we did last time. I think that's going to be the main thing that I'm really keeping an eye on. I feel like they just cut through us like butter at times, even though we had a 4-4-2 diamond, which should have helped cover the middle. It just seemed like Georgie could just make endless runs through us. And that was what really concerned me the most when they pulled that 4-4-2 diamond. So I'm expecting more compactness in the middle. We're going to able to, with Georgie or without, we're going to be able to congest space when they're in the attack, and we're going to come away with at least a draw. I think Carroll gets back on the score sheet because, God, we need him on the score sheet really, really badly.
Lee?
I'm going for 2-2. I think it's going to be a good game. I think we're, like we've said, right, the respect won't be given as much as it was at the home game. And I just think we're going to kind of come out and just we're going to play our game, I feel, and we'll see how it turns out. I think it's going to be really tight, and it's going to be a 2-2 draw.
Nice. Vaughn?
I'm actually going to go a little crazy, and I think we're going to get a 3-1 win on the road.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
But let me justify it. Montreal has looked really, really rough in defense. Against Austin, they gave up some really bad opportunities. I mean, that game could have opened up a lot. And in their previous matchup against FC Cincinnati, the only win that Montreal had, that was a 4-3 result.
Yeah.
I think that there is a lot of holes in the armor for us to go after right now on the defensive line. And if Georgi Mihailovic is not out there, I think we can limit the threat from Montreal. And I think us being able to be in our preferred 4-3-3 and getting some of our stars, our guys out there like Swiderski, who scored and was doing well in his limited minutes with Poland. Jóźwiak, I think those guys being in a Latanzio system, right? We saw that Latanzio bump with the guys that were on the squad. I think we could see the same Latanzio bump for the guys that are getting their first minutes under him. And I think we could surprise. And once again, this is a team that we've seen this fight and this hunger from these players. And I think that they know that they lost 2-0 to Montreal. And I think that is going to be something that they're going to come out with a different level of intensity in this game.
Nice. Awesome. And then my prediction, I'm sorry, I got to keep it real. I think we're going to lose 1-0. We've yet to proven to actually go somewhere and actually pull out 3 points. I think it'll be I don't think it'll be a similar game that like the one we played at home, but I do definitely think that they're going to dominate that mid, and that's going to be key, and it'll be tough, but I hope we win, but realistically, I think this will be Latanzio's first loss.
Damn, you're a terrible host, man. You're a terrible host.
I knew that would bring the mood like this.
I know, you just totally killed the show. Hope you're gonna clip this part out.
I think there's one other thing though to keep in mind, at least so far earlier. Latanzio, 2 games is a small sample size. But what he's also shown is consistency at getting shots in and around the box and inside the box, which was something that Mars tactics didn't provide consistently. And I think against Montreal, I don't even know if we had a shot on target. Well, so yeah, did we? Maybe one? I don't know. It was very few and not many in the box. And so I think that's one thing that we likely will still have. And if we still have that, we're just going to have a lot better chances of getting results in the future, just because if he can provide tactics that get us consistently 7 shots in the box or so, which is what he's gotten so far. Win, lose, or draw in this situation, that's going to be like a huge confidence boost for this team.
100%. Yeah, I agree with everything you guys say. So I'm sorry.
I You just totally killed the vibe, man. You totally killed the vibe.
I'm sorry. I was like, should I go first with this?
Your world, man. We're all living in it, man.
Or should I do my toxic trait and be last with it?
Yeah.
With that, we end another episode of the MLS Corner. Guys, thank you so much for coming on. Everybody in the comment section as well. We appreciate you. Vaughn, my man, where can we find you at, bro? I feel like you're everywhere now. You're a very hot commodity now, bro. Like somebody said earlier, you're an encyclopedia. When those MLS roster guides and rules come out, I know you are like a kid on Christmas.
I don't know, man, because then I got to reset the encyclopedia, you know, like all the numbers change and there's too many things floating around up there. But yeah, you can find me at VI Pullman. I'm hopping around. I've going on to Charlotte FC Fan TV with Lee. Obviously here at MLS Corner on Mint City Soccer Show. I'll probably end up on the Royal Dump at some point. If anybody hasn't listened to that yet, that's the new PC Royals podcast.
That was a good podcast.
Yeah, I need to listen. It sounds like it's gotten good hype.
It's wild, man.
Yeah.
There's babies pooping, and yeah, it's great.
Nice. Lee, where can we find you at, man? And someone is also asking if there's a watch along this weekend.
Yeah, we're planning on doing a watch along Saturday. Obviously, since we're away, we're on.
You can find them at CLTFC Fan TV on all.
On all the socials. We got our live tomorrow. Hopefully, my internet's better. I'm going to tell these kids it's going to be bedtime instead of streaming whatever they're streaming. They're probably in there watching porn or something. I don't know. And so yeah, CLTFC Fan TV on all the socials. 9:00 tomorrow is our show, and yes, we will do a watch along on Saturday.
Nice. And how about you, Brian? Where can we find you at, bro?
You can find me on Twitter at BA Mauer Media. I tweet occasionally, and probably not as much as I should to keep the content going, but I tweet on occasion, and then you can find all my work on topin90.com. You'd be posting articles weekly.
Yeah.
Someone said he got Spurs internet.
Like, why? Why do you guys have to come at me all the time about Spurs, man? Why?